Without free media, you don't have a free and open society.
We have seen newspapers closed. We have seen foreign correspondents kicked out.
Han volado mi vehículo con 3 granadas mientras cenaba a pocos metros en un restaurante.
I believe that information is one of the fundamental human rights.
We thought that we will give people the opportunity to learn the truth, but we didn't think how our newspaper will continue to exist.
Sasha, you have been much identified with Media Development Loan Fund. You have founded it since 1995 and has been its managing director up through 31st March 2011. Among the many accolades, you have been named the Global Leader of Tomorrow by World Economic Forum in 2000. Can you share with us the distinctive features of Media Development Loan Fund as a social enterprise, investing in social enterprises?
I think that there are three distinct characteristics of Mdlf. The first characteristic is that it is an impact investment financial institution. At the time when we started it, we thought that we are starting a media bank. So the whole idea was reduced into giving money and offering financing to independent media companies. The second one is something that we learned very early on in our work, which is that we cannot just be a passive financial institution. So we started operating as venture fund. And that combination is, I would say, pretty unique. So not-for-profit venture fund add to that media bank creates something pretty unique. And then you add the third element to that, which is that as a result of Mdlf's work, there is this incredible network of 80 independent media companies in 27 countries of developing world on 4 continents, which all share the same mission, which is dedication to providing independent and professionally created news to their communities.
How is Media Development Loan Fund different from a commercial lender or private equity fund?
Mdlf has, I would say, double mind, which is it is looking for returns of two parallel kinds. One is social return, is primary motivation for Mdlf's work. And only then, only after this social return is satisfied, does the financial return, and it is defined as some financial return, is being sought. The good way to explain that is the interest rate that Mdlf charges for its loans. While in the world of commercial lenders, interest rate that they charge is directly proportional to the risk that lender is facing. So the higher the risk, the more interest that lender is charging. In Mdlf's world, the world is not that simple. So if the risk of the investment or the lending is higher, that means that also social return is going to be higher. Therefore, Mdlf will charge lower interest rate. The first one is clients. Mdlf's clients are pretty unique. Those are social entrepreneurs who are starting their companies for reasons that are a little bit wider than just creating profits. And there are two main characteristics of those clients that are helping Mdlf be successful. One is that they will, as collateral, offer the biggest asset that they own, which is their reputation. The second one is the mindset of people involved in media is usually open, and the way that we used to define in our investment committee meetings is that all of them are usually very capable of walking on the fire, which from time to time always happens with every company. Media companies tend to get in trouble more often. So what really matters for success of media companies is how managers of that company and leaders of that company can walk on fire during those crisis times. The last part of that secret sauce was team of people that was actually creating Mdlf. And I think that like in any other organization, as long as you hire brilliant people, you have nothing else to do. You just sit back and watch them brilliantly do their brilliant work.
What are the major challenges and the rewards of working with social enterprises in the media sector in Asia?
When we started working in Asia, I have to say it was really very difficult. At that time, there was no understanding of social entrepreneurship, no idea. It was just pure for-profit, and it was not easy to explain neither to potential clients nor to anybody else, what the idea of social enterprise or social investing or impact investments could be. Now, things have changed dramatically since that time. I think that if governments take this field seriously, that Hong Kong and Singapore have a chance, Hong Kong or Singapore, may have a chance to be among the leaders in this field, probably the second to San Francisco, which invented the whole movement, as Singapore, for example, is already a host to some of incredibly creative and interesting social experiments.
That is a very interesting thought that you have raised. And do you think that Asia and possibly Singapore or Hong Kong would be the best place for this to take root?
Well, I think that they could be for two reasons. One is the need in Asia is huge, as is in the other places, but the need in Asia is also very visible. When you walk on the streets, you actually see the need for social enterprises. You see how big social problems are that need to be addressed. That's on one side. On the other side, I think that there is this newly created wealth that is not so old not to remember how it looked like when people were not so rich, as these societies were not so rich. And I think that the understanding of more equitable societies is much closer to Asia than to some other parts of this world. So therefore, I think philosophically, Asia is well positioned to play that leading role.
So do you think that the government has a role to play, possibly to make Singapore more competitive vis-a-vis Hong Kong in claiming some space in this emerging sector that you think will be the mainstream for future businesses?
I think if you look into terms of 20 years, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that capitalism and the production systems as they are today, and we can see that in Europe, we can see that in US, we can see crisis everywhere, it will have to change. The way that it will change, it will bring social enterprises into the mainstream of a capitalistic system. So whoever captures that space first, whoever is there first to establish all the infrastructure, will be the first to capture the mainstream of whatever is the business production of 20 years from now.
In 2011, Media Development Loan Fund has been named to the Impact Assets 50 Index, which is one of the affirmation of what you have achieved. And yet, now we have this interesting situation where when Media Development Loan Fund has hit the impact, you have made a decision to leave the fund. Why is this so?
It boils down to three reasons why I've decided to leave. The first one is that I was running Mdlf 16 years, but after 16 years you kind of stopped being surprised. I think I had time to do one more experiment, to do one more organization, and I felt that there's still enough gunpowder in me to give it one more try, and was tempted to test another idea that I had. So that was the main reason. Me leaving the organization would force it to prove that as an organization it is adult enough, and that I am, as a founder, adult enough to kind of leave at a time when everything is great. And I think that so far we appear to both pass the test. I left Mdlf in March of 2011, and so far I had about 8 months to look into those previous 16 years in a kind of a slow motion type of events, and to analyze all those events in a slow motion. With the advantage of looking at those 16 years and analyzing what had happened and how it happened, I came up with this new big thing, my next big thing, which is the next organization that I'm right now in the process of creating. The name of the organization so far is Media Angels Project, and it is supposed to be consisted of 3 organizations attached to each other. The first part of the idea is Media Angels Marketplace, which is internet-based, a kind of exchange look-alike place where individuals and institutional investors can invest in independent media companies, where they would either get listed and sell their equity, or they would actually seek financing in terms of loans or any kind of financing. The second part of the plan would be creating Media Angels Capital, which is the first venture capital fund dedicated to investing in media in developing world and focusing on bringing them from wherever they are now to their digital future, and to keep all of that within the framework of social enterprise and social investing and impact investing. The third part of the entity, the third part of this plan would be Media Angels Foundation, so all the access returns created that would not go back to the investors would actually be given to the foundation, who would actually then spend that money supporting independent media in those same places where money was made.
Did Soros have any last word to say on this?
When I was leaving Mdlf, Mdlf was kind enough to organize a big party, and Soros came to the party, and he made a very nice speech, and he basically said that he was incredibly glad that he was wrong, but he also said that his suspicion made us work harder, which probably made our success chances higher.